There is a story of a man who was walking in the beach and he found an Aladdin lamp. So he took it, he rubs it, and this genie comes out of the lamp and says, "I will grant you whatever wish you desire." So the man, who was an Oregonian, says, "I would like to have you build a bridge from Oregon to Hawaii, so I can drive every winter from my place to the beach." So the genie thinks and replies, "That would be very challenging. It will pollute the environment, it will prevent ships from going and coming, will be so many miles and so expensive. Could you ask for another wish?" So the man thinks and gets back, saying, "I would like to love my wife as much as I loved her in the day of my wedding." So the genie looks back at him and says, "How many lanes do you want in the highway?" Can we keep love alive? Can we keep love fresh? Today we celebrate World Marriage Day, and many of you are going to renew your marriage vows. Jesus today raises the bar of our morality, and he invites us to love as he loves. This reading is in the context of the Beatitudes. They express the morality of the Beatitudes. They express the person of Jesus. He begins his teaching on marriage saying these very prophetic and challenging words: "Whoever divorces his wife, unless the marriage is unlawful, causes her to commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery." These words are the most challenging of the whole gospel, and I thought, let's ignore them because it's very difficult. But we need to understand the value that Jesus is defending. In a first level, Jesus is saying, when a man and a woman get married, there is a bond that is created between the two, and that bond cannot be broken. That bond, the word is indissoluble. It cannot be dissolved. So that's a first level of meaning of these words. But a second and deeper level of meaning is that when a man and a woman express the marriage vows, that marriage is taken into a deeper symbol. It symbolizes and expresses the marriage, the union, the bond of God with humanity. God, in the person of Jesus, he established this covenant of love. That's the first and true marriage, the marriage of God in the person of Jesus with humanity, as St. Paul expresses in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 4. So when Jesus is saying, when two people, when a man and a woman get married, their human love is taken up into divine love. Their human love, that vows, those vows you express, they now have a deeper meaning. They express and symbolize the covenant of God with humanity. And that covenant is faithful and lasting and forever. That's the value that Jesus is defending in these prophetic words. And this is what explains, in a sense, the meaning of love in marriage. Jesus expresses how or which are the ingredients of this love of covenant, of this bond of union. The first one is that his love is merciful. He says in the gospel, "It was said to you, you shall not kill. But I say to you, whoever is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. And whoever says to his brother, Raka, will be answerable to Sanhedrin. So Jesus says the first element of my love with humanity, the first ingredient of the covenant of love of God with humanity is mercy, is forgiveness. He enters a marriage covenant with us, not because we are perfect, but to make us perfect. He enters into relationship with us to make us better. And for this reason, in his interaction with us, he is merciful. And the same should be the love of marriage. You enter a covenant of love with someone, not because that someone is perfect, but to help that person become perfect. And for this reason, you need to exercise forgiveness. Some of you wrote different suggestions when you sign up for the renewal of the vows. One of you wrote, respect your partner and never go to bed angry at each other, and close the day with I love you and God bless you. This expresses what St. Paul says in Ephesians, never go to bed angry. Before going to bed, reconcile with each other. And that's what Jesus says in the gospel today. He says, if you get angry, and he says, anger is a way of killing, either in words, in actions, or in insults. Anger is a way of killing. If you fall into anger, he says, quickly be reconciled. Quickly be reconciled with your brother. Brother is the one who lives in the same roof, so you can apply to your spouse or to those who are close to you. So in the first place, married love and the love of the covenant of God with us is exercised through mercy. You need to allow your spouse to be imperfect. You need to give her or him permission to be imperfect. And through your mercy, work in improving and working and making them perfect. Secondly, Jesus says these also challenging words of the gospel. It was said to you, you shall not commit adultery, but I say to you, everyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Jesus is saying, in my union with you, in my covenant love with you, the way I look at you is with purity. I look at you not with lust, but purity. Learn from me to look at people not as someone to be used, but someone to be loved. And that's a second thing we can take from the gospel to renew or refresh our love. And is to look at those with whom we love through the eyes of Jesus. That always focuses on what is good. And finally, Jesus says, do not take a false oath, but make good to the Lord all that you vow. Let your yes mean yes, and your no mean no. In a sense, Jesus is saying, let your words be authentic. Let your vow be authentic. Renew your faithfulness. Renew your commitment. And this is typical of the history of salvation. In the Old Testament, through the celebration of the Passover, God renewed every year with his people the covenant of love. And the people renew with God their commitment to faithfulness. And the same in the New Testament, through the sacrifice of the cross and the celebration of the Mass. We renew, and God renews with us, his marriage, his commitment, his faithfulness with us. And that's what many of you are going to do today. And this is not only for marriage, but for any commitment, any oath, any vow we have done. It's good to renew faithfulness. I have to renew faithfulness to you every year, every time. Sometimes I think it would be better to run away, but we renew and make that love fresh, make that love new. And that's the meaning of renewing your vows. It's not a second marriage. It's renewing and making alive, stirring up the grace you committed some time ago. The matrimony, the sacrament of marriage, has a special grace. The Catechism says, the grace proper to the sacrament of matrimony is intended to perfect the couple's love and to strengthen their indissoluble unity. By this grace, they help one another attain holiness in their married life and in welcoming and educating their children. When you got married, if you're married, the sacrament of marriage bestows a special grace in the couple that is intended to make your love more perfect, to elevate your love to the level of a supernatural love like the love of Jesus, and to strengthen you to keep that union and that faithfulness, and to help you attain holiness in married life and educating your children. And that's what you are going to do, many of you. You are going to renew that yes, and you are going to stir up the grace. Today we pray for all married couples. We hold up the institution of marriage, but also we acknowledge many single mothers who have had the cross of bringing up their children by themselves. We acknowledge also spouses who maybe were left or abandoned unjustly by the other spouse. We acknowledge widows who maybe have lived a happy marriage but no longer enjoy the presence of their spouses. Or maybe some of you might be married, but your spouse does not accompany you in your faith journey. But we all renew the certainty of God's faithfulness, of His covenant of love, of His giving of Himself to us. And our response should be to give ourselves to Him.